Tell Me What to Read is recorded on the lands of the Wongal people, and we pay our respects to all elders past and present, and extend our welcome to any First Nations people listening today. This is Tell Me What to Read, brought to you by Booktopia. I'm your host, Nick Wasiliev, and welcome to the show where we chat about the next great books you should be reading with the authors behind them and familiar faces who read them. All books mentioned in today's show can be found right now at booktopia.com.au, and the links can be found in the description. I'm Nick Wasiliev, and today I am back in the Booktopia offices on unceded Wongal country, and I pay my respects to all elders, past and present, and extend that to any First Nations people listening today. I'm joined by Megan Pustetto to talk about the books that she is reading and enjoying. And if you don't know who Megan is, she is an entertainment, lifestyle, and news journalist and host of the So Dramatic podcast, Australia's #1 entertainment and reality TV podcast. Megan, welcome to Tell Me What to Read.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And I know, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and chat with us. You are unbelievably busy. And before I dive into your career and the books that you're reading and enjoying, I want to ask about your reading habits. Are you a big reader? How often do you get the chance to read?
You know what? I'm so embarrassed to admit this on this podcast, but I used to be such a big reader when I was younger. Like I read maybe one book a week. I was just obsessed with reading from a very young age. And that continued like in high school. I would read all of these books throughout school. And then when I started working, I just kind of slowed down on the reading. I don't know if it was because of like social media and just always being on our phones, or the fact that my work involved a lot of reading and writing. And when I got home, I would just kind of want to not have anything to do with words. So I hadn't read a book in years, and I've only just started reading again the last couple of months.
It's totally understandable. Life is so busy now, and always trying to find time to look after yourself is something that I personally struggle with, and I work in a bookstore. So I'm completely sympathetic. But it's good to hear that you're getting back into reading and stuff. And I was gonna ask about, how you categorize your books and stuff, but I can see behind you that you have a beautiful color coordinated bookshelf. And props to that and how gorgeous it looks.
Thank you. Well, the thing is, I didn't stop buying books when I wasn't reading them. So I would like see books that I thought that I would enjoy. And so I just kept buying them. And I just kind of got this backlog of books that I need to read, and I've still got them. So I've got the books. I've just got to now find the time to read them.
Oh, you got a TBR pile. Oh, yes.
Wow. And then I stopped buying them, and I just started making a list, and I was banned myself from buying any more until I've read the ones that I've got.
Well, I'm super excited to hear about the books that you have been reading and enjoying. But first, let's talk about So Dramatic, that you've been working on for a while. You founded the online site, correct me, last year. It commenced in January 2020. 200 episodes, over 200 episodes out at the time of us chatting. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Reckon the show's doing all right.
It is. It has its peaks and troughs. I think Married at First Sight's obviously a really big time for us. So things kind of die off once the drama from that settles down. But yeah, it's going really good. 2.5 years it's been now, and we're still on the airwaves, haven't been cancelled yet, which is a good thing.
How on earth did So Dramatic come about?
It's funny. It's actually a funny story. So I was working as a freelance entertainment reporter, which is basically just commissioning stories for different news outlets across the country. And when COVID happened, everyone ran out of budget for freelancers. They were like the first to go. So I still had all of this amazing content from the shows, because the shows were still happening as well. And basically no one would buy them. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do with all this content? Maybe I'll just do a podcast, because it was something that I'd always, wanted to try, or thought that maybe that would be something, up my alley. And I just chucked it on a podcast, and literally a week from when I was like, I'm going to do a podcast, a week later, I did the first episode, and pretty much the first, if not the second or third episodes, it like blew up. So it was pretty crazy, and it blew up so much that now I'm kind of stuck with it, if that makes sense. Not in a bad way, but I can't actually even go back to my old job even if I wanted to.
It's the right problem to have. And I think it's kind of indicative of podcasts have really come into their own in the last 2 or 3 years, probably in line with the situation with the pandemic. There's a lot more of them out there. People seem a lot more accepting of of how podcasts work. It's such an interesting space. What do people, and I know you talk about a lot of stuff across So Dramatic, a lot of, you touch on a lot of popular culture, you touch on a lot of shows. What are the main shows that people gravitate towards whenever they want to hear about your podcast? You've obviously mentioned Married at First Sight. Is that the big one, or are people also interested in like Bachelor and other shows like that too?
Oh, well, The Bachelor's kind of died. I don't even know if it's going to go ahead because they've just postponed it till next year now. So I think that's kind of on its way out. Married at First Sight obviously is the biggest show in Australia. Everyone is just obsessed with maths. There's always so much drama and scandal that comes out of that show as well, just purely off the casting, and the people that they purposefully cast are just batshit crazy. So there's always good content. So that's definitely like the number one show for the year. But yeah, the other shows, like even Love Island last year, we had a really good response to that. That did really well for us. What else? There was a new show as well that we found really good this year. I can't remember now. It mustn't be too good. But any reality shows where there is scandal or drama, the nicer shows where they're a good watch, but not much is happening, like the MasterChef or the My Kitchen Rules, it's not really up our alley.
Yeah, I get that. And often people really are just so excited by seeing something to gawk at. And and shows like that can often provide that escape. Do you have shows that you like to escape to? So often you're obviously watching these shows a lot, seeing what they're up to. Do you have shows that you like to, whenever you're taking a break from that and you need to pull back for a bit, that you immediately go, that's the shows that I like to check out?
Well, I don't get a lot of time to watch TV because I'm trying to watch, there's usually 3 or more shows at once that are on. So I'm usually trying to watch those even in my free time. But in my free time, I don't really watch reality TV. I know that seems weird. I watch like dramas like Billions and Power, all of these kind of dark drama shows. So I think it's kind of like you don't want to work when it's like work to me. So I don't want to work when I'm not working technically, but yeah, a lot of my time is taken up with the shows, the Australian reality shows.
You're basically separating your enjoyment TV watching time from your work watching time, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were in freelance, and you get to talk a lot about the space of popular culture, and I know that you've been published in so many places when you were doing freelance work. Yeah, I think in the time of the pandemic, when we were kind of all locked up, I kind of did notice that there was a shift. And this is just me throwing this out to you because obviously you've been in this space for a little while. But there was a shift in terms of how we viewed and prioritized pop culture. Because we were in this situation where we were all separated from each other. Where do you think popular culture fits in today's world?
Well, in terms of COVID, when we were all isolating and all of that, there was some people who didn't connect at all with pop culture, and they were just transfixed on the news because obviously that was such a big world event that was happening. You couldn't turn away from it. Whereas others didn't watch the news by the end of it. They were overseeing all of the disastrous COVID updates, that they just turned to pop culture, and it was kind of a real escapism for them. So I think you're either in one camp or the other.
I think so as well. And it often can come down to the person and how they choose to interact in that situation of I don't want to say trauma that we all kind of went through, but that experience that we all had, where it was 2 years that just feel kind of lost, that we didn't have previously.
Well, I started COVID by reading everything, the updates. I had the news on all day. I was like, what's happening next? Like, I couldn't get enough. And then by about 6 months in or so, maybe not even, like I was totally over it. I didn't want to hear about it. Towards the end, I had totally disconnected, that to the point where I didn't even know the latest updates about the health things. And I was like to my mom, just text me when something changes, because I don't want to have to, like, I was just done. It was too much.
I went the other way. I was kind of like, I was just like, I started by going, oh, I just can use this opportunity to have some me time. But then near the end, I was checking the updates obsessively, saying, what's the number like? What's the number like? Are we going to get it down?
Yeah, we're on our way out. Freedom. Smell the freedom.
You could smell the freedom, and you're like, oh God, it's going to be how many weeks until we have any indication of when we're going to get out? But fortunately, we are out the other side, which is good. And people seem to have either come back to popular culture, but also to shows like Maths and equivalent in droves. as mentioned, you've been published in loads and loads of places. And I say that you've gotten used to rubbing shoulders with a lot of celebs and high profile people in your time. Do you have any stories about a time when, despite being the fact that you'd be around a lot of, people that a lot of our people in our listenership and our audience would be familiar with, have you ever been genuinely starstruck by someone?
Yeah, probably a lot, but I'm trying to think of the most exciting because I do meet a lot of people, and to me, I know this sounds mean, but they're not that exciting because I'm just seeing famous people all the time that it's kind of lost its shine. And then when I tell my friends and family, they're like, "Oh my God, I love that person. I can't believe that you met them." Um, Actually, the other day I went for lunch with Clementine Ford, and I had so many people message me, and like I think of her as just like a normal person. Obviously, she's inspirational, but she's very down to earth and kind of feel like she's one of us because she shares on the internet so much. But I had so many people message me being like, I cannot believe that you met her. Like I'm in love with her. She's the best. But I think the most famous person I met was Kelly Osbourne, actually, when I was working at Daily Mail. I got to
Oh,
interview her.
wow.
And she was so nice and so fun. She was like, come and party with me after. So I was really nervous to meet her. But then by the end, she was just so cool and so easy to talk to that she was just like, you felt like she was a friend.
I love those whenever you meet someone and they genuinely the hype is real. They're such a lovely, sweet person. We had Delta Goodrum come in to sign books. She had a book that came out in line with her new record. And of course everyone is very like, wow, this is Delta. It's one of those people that you only need to say her first name and you know who you're talking about. And she was absolutely lovely as well, incredibly down to earth and incredibly kind. And often people can often be hit by that you know, starstruck because you've seen them everywhere. Therefore, you have this built up this perception about them. What do you say
They're
to
not
people?
real.
Yeah, well, what do you say to people who, look at these celebrity people and put them on pedestals and say, how do you approach them if you suddenly see them in the street?
You know what? They're just normal people.
Mm.
That's how I approach them. And I think that's why the podcast has been so successful because I know I only talk to reality stars and they're not as big as like a Delta Goodrum or, maybe they are, but most of the time they're just normal people that have been plucked onto shows. I just treat them as a normal person, have just a really casual rapport. And I think they really appreciate that. And when I have met really big celebrities as well, I think they also appreciate it. And the funny thing is, which made me think of it when you said Delta, the biggest celebrities are usually the ones that are the nicest, and the D grade or E or F celebrities who aren't that famous are the rudest, which is so crazy. Go figure.
It's a strange world of celebrity fame and telly fame. It's a very strange place. So obviously we mentioned you've got the So Dramatic Online, you have the podcast. What's up next? Is it just plowing ahead with this amazing brand that you've put together over the last few years?
Yeah, so we've got the website, which is doing amazing. We've just celebrated 1 year for that. The podcast, it's been 2.5 years now. And yeah, we're just kind of in a period where we're just taking a breath and not take, because I'm one of those people that just constantly takes on something new. Like 1 year after the podcast, I did the website and it's just, then I launched a second podcast and it was just go, go, go. So I'm just taking a breather at the moment to just kind of reassess things and like do a bit of forward planning. And we do have some exciting things in the works. We're hoping to launch some more podcasts and a few other exciting things like events and stuff like that in the works. But I think for this year, we might just rest on our laurels and just enjoy that we're not extremely busy. There's a couple of big shows coming up like Love Island and The Real Love Boat. So we're going to focus on those and just make it through to the end of the year in one piece, I think. Get ready for Married at First Sight next year.
It is an exciting time for a lot of those shows. We actually had Brooke Blurton on the show actually recently talking about her experiences in the world of I think was it or Bachelor in Paradise,
Yeah,
Bachelorette and
Bachelor in
Bachelor in Paradise, and just that how absolutely crazy those shows are, both to see the reaction to and also to film in that space. But honestly, all the best. It's so interesting. It's so exciting to see the So Dramatic brand continue to grow and the podcast continue to grow, and that people react to it so well. We're at the stage where we talk about books that you have been reading and
Mhm.
enjoying. So I would love to ask, what has Megan Pustetto been reading and enjoying of late?
So the first book that I read post my book break was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. So I don't
Mm,
know if you're familiar with it, but she's a Sunday Times, I think, dating columnist. It's basically a collection of stories from her youth, growing up, going into adulthood, all of that stuff. And I just found it so relatable, really honest and raw. Like she really gives you the raw, honest truth about what happened, like what's and all. Even if it didn't make her look so good, like she still shared the story, and she did it in a really hilarious way. So it's a really, really fun book. I was like laughing at one point, crying at another. Like it's a really good book, I think, for any woman would really enjoy that book.
absolutely. And I think I haven't read Everything I Know About Love, but I do know her from Ghosts, from her debut novel.
Oh wow, I didn't even
Yeah,
know she had
yeah,
another book.
yeah. So this was a book that kind of came out recently, and it's the story of this woman named Nina who's kind of in her 30s, and wants to become a successful food writer. And it's kind of a story about family and connection to family. But I love that we had her on, and she was really, just the way that she spoke about writing and the way that she spoke about love specifically in many forms. It was just such a I found us it just it was just such a calming presence, or just like a grounding presence.
Mm.
And from what I've heard about Everything I Know About Love, it's like a shot in the arm, I think, that a lot of people needed when the book came out, but also subsequently.
Yeah, it wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be like a self-help book, like a guide, and it was totally the opposite. It was like everything what not to do from her experience. It was a very refreshing, very hilarious. She's an amazing writer.
Absolutely. And I believe you have a second one, which I love that you've brought this book along,
Yes.
specifically because I have read this book and I have loved this
Oh,
book. And I think
good.
everyone loves this book who's come into contact with it.
Yeah, well, I just looked and it sold 100 million copies, which is crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
hmm what is that?
The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
I love this book so much. What drew you to it out of curiosity?
Well, I saw, as everyone would have, everyone was posting this book at a time. Remember, it was on Instagram, everywhere you looked, everyone would do the beach shot with the book, or they'd post it, they were reading it. So I bought the book, didn't read it for a number of years, it was just sitting in my in my home. And then I read it when I was in Darwin recently, and it was really good. That was an actual self-help book.
Mm,
And I kind of needed it at the time because I just had gone through a bit of a rough period with work and trolling and all of that. And it actually really just helped me realize how to not give a fuck, which seems stupid, but it actually did what the title said. And it was just really good to like basically helped me refocus where my energy is going, and train me to not focus on all of the outside noise, and just really care about only the things that truly matter, and block out all of that noise and stuff that doesn't matter. Because I'm one
mm.
of those people that I just really spread myself thin, and I do get caught up in the noise, and it really defocuses me. So it was just a really good reminder to like cut everything else out and just reassess your values.
It was one of those books that when it came along, it was just like another reminder about what is actually important. I
Yeah.
loved when I read it a few years ago, and I loved the particular lesson that I took from it was that no matter what you do, there is always going to be shit at every job that you work at. So the question then becomes, uh, well, what is the sort of job that you are willing to put up with the shit for, to actually enjoy, because all of the positives that you get out of the job are actually worth the crap that you have to deal with. And I was like, God, that is such a great way
Mm.
of refocusing it, because people often are striving for that world of perfectionism and achieving perfection. But they never can. You can never achieve that.
And his point about suffering, it was like we are all going to suffer with whatever we do. So it's like choose what you're going to suffer for, and like what is worth suffering for.
Yeah, absolutely. He's such a good writer, and I'm annoyed that I haven't actually read the sequel to
Yeah,
it.
what's the sequel again? It's
Everything is fucked.
Everything is fucked. I need that one as well.
Yeah, it's I know. Shout out to Mark Manson.
He's so funny, and like again, such relatable writing, like down to earth writing, just with like the swear words. And I love that kind of relatability.
Absolutely. And obviously, given the title, a warning to everyone, he says fuck a lot. Absolutely, he says it a lot. I love these books that you brought along. Thank you so much. We'll finish off with some fun little quick fire questions. No wrong answers, just a bit of fun.
Okay. Scared.
Be terrified. No, I'm kidding. What is the perfect idea of a night with a book for you? Like perfect idea.
Like where I'm reading or
where you're reading it? What, like, are you drinking a beverage? What's the perfect idea of like a chill night?
I usually read when I'm like on a plane or at the beach. I need to like zone out, or when I'm going to bed is a really good time because it calms you before you go to sleep.
That's a good one. I like it. Often going to bed is my go-to. Just like chilling in bed, like after a really long day, is a perfect way to go to sleep.
Yeah, I can't read during the day. I get too relaxed.
I know you're on Instagram a lot. And your Instagram, by the way, is on point. What is your go-to Instagram filter?
Oh, the Paris filter.
Yeah.
It just smooths everything out. Thank God for Paris.
Oh, thank God for Paris. They've always got their fashion and everything on point there. For me at the moment, I've just been hooked on the black and white of Tokyo of late. I've just really been enjoying black and white photographs and chrome photographs. Being
mysterious.
Okay. Correct me if I noticed that you changed this since we started talking, but so if we cut this question out, that's fine. Your Instagram used to be Megan the Italian Stallion.
Yeah. So I had to take it down because I got a message, someone saying that I was being culturally inappropriate for saying, because it's from Megan the Stallion, obviously. It's like a homage to her. But they said that I was being culturally inappropriate because obviously Megan's black and it was taking away from her, which I don't think I can do because Megan the Stallion is like obviously one of the greatest of all time. But I just thought I don't want to offend anyone. So I took it out.
I was gonna ask, tell me Megan the Stallion actually just messaged you and said, could you please take that down? You're cramping my style.
What? I actually got like a few times I had random messages from people thinking that I was her, or they would tag me in videos. So it kind of got a bit annoying. I just was like, you know what? New chapter, just be myself.
You get in the lift and the person that you have always wanted to meet, like in your life, is in there. Who is it?
Oh my God, this is such a basic bitch answer. Kim Kardashian.
Oh, hell yes.
I just need to see her in real life.
Have you been watching the new show?
No, I've only just caught up on the past seasons. I haven't watched the new one. I need to wait till there's like a few seasons so I can binge it. I'm not I can't watch one episode a week. Oh, it's not enough,
Yeah, my partner's obsessed. She's it's her like guilty-free sort of go-to TV, just seeing what they're up to. Add to that question, seeing as you've now asked that it's Kim, you've got time for one question in the lift. Oh, what is it? Would you just hug her? What would you do?
Be like, be my friend. No, I don't know. I'd probably ask her if they really were instrumental in the sex tape, if they really sold the sex tape, if her bum's real. I don't know. I'd probably be too starstruck to say anything, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be another starstruck situation. Having us say, oh yeah, we wouldn't just be normal people and approach them. It would be one of those, proper.
I'd be so nervous.
And then finally, the classic last question. You are stuck on a deserted island, and while you await rescue, you get to take 3 of any sort of things with you. What are the 3 things that you need to take for survival?
Oh God. My phone.
Yes, love it.
This is tricky. This is really hard. This is like one of those, what are those questions where they ask you like the life or death ones?
Yeah.
Really tricky. I would say Instagram, my mom, and God, this is hard. Can it be anything?
It can be anything. Normally we do make this question about which books would you take along with you. Which 3 books would you take to survive the boredom while you await rescue? But I figured I'd expand it out a little bit. You can make it books if you like.
Okay, well, I would take all of the Jodi Picoult books because she is my favorite author of all time. I've read all of her books like twice. When I was younger, I was obsessed. So probably her entire collection, so I had something to do on the island.
I like that. That's good. What's your go-to Jodi Picoult book, out of curiosity?
Well, it's been a while since I look up at my Oh, what was the one about the hospital with the girls that had the cancer and it was made into the movie? That's obviously.
Oh, hang on. Let me Google it. I'm going to Google this now and see if I can find it.
I've got some here. I've actually got her new one here.
So it's Wish You Were Here? Was that the one? Or My Sister's Keeper?
My Sister's Keeper.
My Sister's Keeper. That was the one.
Yeah, I've got a few here. I have so many of them that they're actually at my mum's house, but I've got her new one that I'm going to read soon. So it's next on my list.
Oh, you can never get away from all of her brand new reads. Yeah, she is honestly amazing. I could honestly chat to you all day, but unfortunately, I know that you are incredibly busy and you have many people to see, places to go. So I'll simply finish up by saying thank you, Megan. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Tell Me What to Read.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. And for everyone listening to this, you can check out all books that we've mentioned right now online from booktopia.com.au or from your local bookstore. You can also check out the So Dramatic podcast and also So Dramatic Online. I'll link it in the description below, where Megan brings you exclusive reality TV gossip, breaks down all the latest TV celeb scandals, and delves into all the drama that's happening in her own life as well. If you enjoyed our show today, you can drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or a like on Spotify. Let us know what you think of the show. Thanks for listening, and never stop reading. Thanks to all of our guests on today's show. Remember, all books mentioned in today's show can be found right now at booktopia.com.au. Links can be found in the description. We would also love to hear what you're reading, so feel free to join the conversation on social media. Search Booktopia on your favourite platform and join our book club. We'll catch you for our next episode, but until then, thanks for listening and never stop reading.